That little brown bottle of hydrogen peroxide sitting in your medicine cabinet? It might just be the most underrated tool in your entire garden shed. Most people think of it as something you dab on a scrape or use to whiten your teeth, but seasoned tomato growers have been quietly using this stuff for years to grow bigger, healthier, and more productive plants, and spending almost nothing to do it. We're talking about a product you can grab at any grocery store or pharmacy for about $1, one single dollar. And yet it can do things for your tomato plants that some expensive commercial products can only dream of. From fighting off deadly diseases to giving your seedlings a head start in life, hydrogen peroxide is a gardener's secret weapon that has been hiding in plain sight. Now you might be thinking, how can something so cheap and so common really make a difference in my garden? Well, here's the thing. Hydrogen peroxide is H2O2. That means it is basically water with one extra oxygen atom. And that one extra atom is what makes all the difference. When hydrogen peroxide breaks down, it releases that oxygen. Oxygen is one of the most powerful things you can give to a plant's root system and to its leaves. So before you head out to your garden this season, stick around, because these 11 benefits might just change the way you grow tomatoes forever. Number 1. Fight fungal diseases like early blight and leaf spot. If you have ever grown tomatoes, you know that fungal diseases are practically unavoidable. Early blight, leaf spot, septoria, they show up like uninvited guests at a barbecue and refuse to leave. Here is where hydrogen peroxide earns its keep. When you spray diluted hydrogen peroxide on your tomato plant leaves, it does not just sit there like some sprays do. It actually kills the fungus on contact through a process called oxidation. The chemical bonds in hydrogen peroxide are unstable, so when the solution touches those fungal spores, it breaks apart and releases oxygen. That burst of energy destroys the fungi right where they live. What is really interesting is that tomato plants actually produce hydrogen peroxide on their own as a natural defense mechanism when they are under attack from fungi and bacteria. So when you spray it on, you are essentially giving your plants a helping hand with something they are already trying to do. Here is a good starting recipe. Mix about 6 to 12 tablespoons of regular 3% hydrogen peroxide into 1 gallon of water. Start with the lower amount and work your way up over time. Always test spray a few leaves first and wait a full 48 hours to check for any damage before treating the whole plant. If the leaves look fine, go ahead and spray the entire plant, tops and bottoms of the leaves and the stems. For a serious outbreak, spray for 3 consecutive days. If the infection is milder, you can spread it out and spray on day 1, day 3, and day 5. After you get the disease under control, follow up with a preventative fungicide like a sulfur-based product and reapply the hydrogen peroxide spray every 7 to 14 days as needed throughout the growing season. And here is the part that really sets this apart from other treatments. Unlike many preventative fungicides that only stop new infections from taking hold, hydrogen peroxide actually kills existing fungal growth. That is a huge deal when you are in the middle of a bad outbreak and watching your plant lose leaves by the day. It also does not leave any harmful residue on the plant. Within about 24 hours, sunlight breaks it down completely. You are left with nothing but water and oxygen on your tomato leaves. Number 2, boost seed germination. Every tomato grower knows the frustration of planting seeds and then waiting, and some of them just never come up. It is disappointing, especially when you have carefully selected your favorite heirloom varieties. Hydrogen peroxide can actually speed up germination and improve your success rate. The extra oxygen molecule in hydrogen peroxide, H2O2, compared to water, H2O, helps soften the seed coat and increases oxygen availability to the seed. This kickstarts the biological processes that wake a seed up from dormancy. To try this, soak your tomato seeds in a 3% hydrogen peroxide solution for about 30 minutes to 4 hours before planting. After soaking, rinse the seeds thoroughly with clean water to remove any residue, and then plant them as you normally would. Many gardeners report noticeably faster sprouting and stronger seedlings using this method. This trick is especially helpful if you are working with older seeds that have been sitting in a drawer for a season or two and might need a little extra encouragement to get going. It is also great if you are trying to germinate heirloom varieties that are known to have tougher seed coats. Now, a word of caution: the concentration matters. Do not use anything stronger than a 3% solution for seed soaking, because too much peroxide can actually make the seed unviable. Stick with the regular drugstore 3% peroxide and you will be just fine. Think of it as giving your seeds a gentle wake-up call instead of a cold bucket of water. Number 3, treat and prevent root rot. Root rot is one of those problems that can sneak up on you. Everything looks fine above ground, and then one day your tomato plant starts wilting even though the soil is moist. You pull it up and find brown, mushy roots. By that point, it is often too late. Root rot is typically caused by overwatering or poor drainage, which creates the kind of soggy, oxygen-deprived environment that harmful fungi love. And here is the kicker: one of the most common culprits, Phytophthora root rot, specifically targets tomatoes and potatoes. It can survive in soil for years, whether plants are growing there or not. Hydrogen peroxide is effective against root rot because it does two things at once. First, it kills the fungi and bacteria causing the problem. Second, as it breaks down in the soil, it releases oxygen directly into the root zone. This is exactly what waterlogged roots are starving for. To treat root rot, mix 1 part 3% hydrogen peroxide with 2 parts water and pour it around the base of the affected plant. Let the soil dry out almost completely before watering again. For a preventative approach, you can add a teaspoon of 3% hydrogen peroxide to a gallon of water and use this as part of your regular watering routine once a week. Number 4, save transplants from shock. This one right here could save your entire tomato crop, which is why we are calling it a lifesaver. Transplant shock is one of the biggest killers of young tomato plants, and almost every gardener has dealt with it at some point. You spend weeks carefully nurturing your seedlings indoors, getting them big and strong, and then you move them outside into the garden. Within days, the leaves start drooping, they start turning yellow, and the plant just looks miserable. Sometimes they bounce back, sometimes they do not. Hydrogen peroxide can significantly reduce transplant shock by disinfecting the root zone and giving roots an immediate oxygen boost right when they need it most. When you transplant your tomato seedlings, dip the roots in a solution of 1 part 3% hydrogen peroxide mixed with 2 parts water before placing them in the ground. You can also pour some of this solution into the planting hole before setting the transplant in. This does a couple of important things. It kills any harmful pathogens that might be lurking in the soil and waiting to attack vulnerable young roots. And the extra oxygen stimulates new root growth, helping the plant establish itself faster in its new home. Some growers take this a step further and actually water their freshly transplanted tomatoes with the same diluted hydrogen peroxide solution for the first week or so. This gives the roots a continuous oxygen boost during that critical establishment period when the plant is most vulnerable. The results speak for themselves. Gardeners who use this method swear by it and report significantly less wilting, faster recovery, and stronger early growth. One grower in South Carolina became locally famous for growing tomato plants that reached 12 feet tall, and hydrogen peroxide was a key part of his routine. He would fill the planting hole with his peroxide solution at transplant time, and then continue spraying the plants a couple of times a week throughout the season. So the next time you are getting ready to move your seedlings from their cozy indoor pots to the great outdoors, do not skip this step. A little hydrogen peroxide could mean the difference between a plant that struggles for weeks and one that takes off like a rocket. Number 5. Aerate compacted soil. Tomatoes are heavy feeders with extensive root systems, and they need loose, well-aerated soil to really thrive. Over the course of a growing season, soil can become compacted from watering, foot traffic, and the weight of the plants themselves. When soil compacts, it squeezes out the air pockets that roots depend on for oxygen. Here is where hydrogen peroxide works some quiet magic. When you water your tomato plants with a diluted hydrogen peroxide solution, the peroxide breaks down in the soil and releases oxygen. This oxygen creates tiny air pockets throughout the soil, loosening it up and making it easier for roots to spread and breathe. The improved aeration also helps roots absorb minerals and nutrients from the soil more efficiently, which translates to better overall plant growth and higher yields. Mix 1 teaspoon of 3% hydrogen peroxide into 1 gallon of water and use it to water your tomato plants every couple of weeks. It is a simple step that can make a noticeable difference, especially in clay-heavy soils that tend to compact easily. Number 6. Kill fungus gnats and their larvae. If you have ever grown tomatoes in containers or started seedlings indoors, you have probably dealt with fungus gnats, those tiny, annoying flies that hover around your plants and seem to multiply overnight. While the adult gnats are mostly just a nuisance, their larvae live in the soil and feed on organic matter and young roots. In large numbers, they can actually damage your tomato seedlings. Hydrogen peroxide is one of the most effective and safest ways to deal with them. When you drench the soil with a hydrogen peroxide solution, it kills the larvae on contact. The fizzing action you see when the solution hits the soil is the peroxide breaking down and releasing oxygen. And that process is lethal to the soft-bodied larvae hiding in the top layer of soil. Mix 1 part 3% hydrogen peroxide with 4 parts water and use it to thoroughly water the affected plants. You will likely see some fizzing at the soil surface. That is a good sign. It means it is working. Repeat this treatment once a week for about 3 weeks to catch any new larvae that hatch from eggs already in the soil. The best part is, this treatment will not harm your tomato plants, earthworms, or other beneficial organisms in the soil. Number 7. Sanitize your gardening tools. This one might not sound glamorous, but it could prevent a disaster in your tomato patch. Many gardeners do not realize that diseases can spread from plant to plant through contaminated pruning shears, stakes, cages, and even your own hands. When you prune a tomato plant that has a bacterial or fungal infection and then use those same shears on a healthy plant, you are essentially giving the disease a free ride to its next victim. This is how problems like bacterial wilt and late blight can tear through an entire garden in a matter of days. Hydrogen peroxide is an excellent disinfectant for garden tools. You can spray or wipe your tools with full strength, 3% hydrogen peroxide between plants, or soak them in a solution of 1 part hydrogen peroxide to 1 part water for a few minutes. This kills bacteria, fungi, and viruses that might be hitching a ride on your equipment. You can also use it to sanitize your tomato cages, stakes, pots, and seed trays, especially if you are reusing them from a previous season. Just give them a good wipe down or soak before the season starts, and you will eliminate any lingering pathogens from last year. Make it a habit to sanitize your tools every time you move from one plant to the next, especially during pruning season. It takes just a few seconds, costs almost nothing, and it could save your entire crop from a devastating disease outbreak. Keep a spray bottle of hydrogen peroxide right next to your gardening gloves so it becomes part of your routine. Number 8. Control aphids naturally. Aphids are one of the most common pests that attack tomato plants, and they can do serious damage in a hurry. These tiny insects cluster on the undersides of leaves and on new growth, sucking the sap out of your plants and leaving behind a sticky residue called honeydew. Left unchecked, a bad aphid infestation can stunt growth, curl leaves, and even transmit plant viruses. A diluted hydrogen peroxide spray can help you get aphids under control without resorting to harsh chemical pesticides. Mix 1 tablespoon of 3% hydrogen peroxide with 1 cup of water in a spray bottle. Spray this directly onto the affected areas, making sure to hit the undersides of leaves where aphids like to hide. Also check between stems and at the base of the plant, since aphids tend to tuck themselves into tight spaces. The key with aphids is consistency. Apply this spray once a week for at least 3 weeks. You can also pour the solution into the soil around the base of the plant to kill any aphid eggs or larvae that may be hiding there. It is a gentle but effective approach that keeps your garden chemical-free. Number 9. Disinfect soil before planting. Here's a smart preventative step that most gardeners skip entirely. If you are reusing containers, raised bed soil, or planting in a spot where you had disease problems the previous season, there could be harmful pathogens just waiting in the soil for your new tomato plants to arrive. Hydrogen peroxide can help you start with a cleaner slate. Before planting, drench the soil with a hydrogen peroxide and water solution. A good ratio is about 1 cup of 3% hydrogen peroxide mixed into 1 gallon of water. Pour this evenly over the planting area and let it soak in. Wait 1 or 2 days before planting to allow the peroxide to fully break down. This treatment helps reduce populations of harmful bacteria, fungi, and even some pest eggs lurking in the soil. As the hydrogen peroxide decomposes, it leaves behind nothing but water and oxygen, so there are no chemical residues to worry about. This is particularly useful for container gardeners who reuse potting mix from year to year, as diseases can build up in those closed environments over time. Number 10. Improve nutrient uptake. You can fertilize your tomato plants all day long, but if the roots cannot efficiently absorb those nutrients, you are just throwing money at the dirt. One of the overlooked benefits of hydrogen peroxide is how it helps tomato plants take in more of what you are feeding them. When hydrogen peroxide breaks down in the soil, the released oxygen helps keep the root zone healthy and well aerated. Healthy, oxygen-rich roots are simply better at absorbing nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the big 3 that tomato plants need to produce strong stems, lush foliage, and plenty of fruit. This is especially helpful in heavier clay soils, where drainage is poor and oxygen levels around the roots tend to be low. But even in good garden soil, your plants can benefit from the extra boost. By adding a diluted hydrogen peroxide solution to your regular watering schedule, say 1 teaspoon of 3% hydrogen peroxide per gallon of water every couple of weeks, you are creating conditions that allow your plants to make the most of every bit of fertilizer you apply. Think about it this way. You might be spending good money on quality tomato fertilizer, but if your soil is compacted and your roots are struggling for air, a big chunk of those nutrients is just sitting there unused. Hydrogen peroxide helps unlock what is already in the ground. It is like giving your tomatoes a better set of lungs so they can breathe in everything the soil has to offer. This is one of those benefits that you might not notice overnight, but over the course of a growing season, the difference really adds up. Healthier roots, greener foliage, more flowers, and ultimately, more tomatoes on the vine. Number 11, sanitize seeds to prevent disease. This last one is all about starting off on the right foot. Many plant diseases are seed-borne, meaning the seeds themselves can carry pathogens from the previous generation of plants. If you are saving seeds from your own tomatoes or buying from sources where quality control might vary, sanitizing your seeds before planting is a smart move. Soaking tomato seeds in a diluted hydrogen peroxide solution before planting kills bacteria and fungal spores on the seed surface without harming the seed itself. This is a common practice among experienced growers who want to give their plants the healthiest possible start. Place your seeds in a solution of 3% hydrogen peroxide for about 5 minutes, then rinse them thoroughly under running water for at least 1 minute. This short soak is enough to kill most surface pathogens while keeping the seed viable. After rinsing, plant the seeds as you normally would. This simple step takes almost no time and costs practically nothing, but it can prevent problems that would otherwise plague your plants for the entire growing season. Think of it as giving your tomatoes a clean bill of health before they even break through the soil. This is especially important if you are saving seeds from your own garden. While it is a wonderful and money-saving practice, there is always a risk that the parent plant was carrying something you did not notice. A quick hydrogen peroxide soak eliminates that worry and gives your next generation of tomatoes the cleanest possible start. A few important tips to keep in mind. Before you go dumping hydrogen peroxide all over your garden, there are a couple of things worth remembering. First, and most important, always use the regular 3% hydrogen peroxide that you find at the drugstore or grocery store, not the industrial strength stuff. Higher concentrations, like the 35% food-grade version, can severely burn plant tissue, damage your skin, and do far more harm than good. If you do happen to have a stronger concentration, you will need to dilute it way down before using it anywhere near your plants. Second, always dilute before applying to plants, and always test on a small area first. Every garden is different, and what works perfectly in one climate or soil type might need adjusting in another. Spray a few leaves, wait 48 hours, and check for any signs of burning or damage before treating the whole plant. Third, store your hydrogen peroxide in its original brown or opaque bottle because sunlight breaks it down very quickly. If you leave it out in the sun, it will lose its potency and just become plain water. For the same reason, try to do your spraying in the early morning or late evening when the sun is not beating directly on the leaves. And finally, remember that hydrogen peroxide does not linger in the environment. It decomposes into plain water and oxygen, which makes it one of the most garden-friendly and eco-friendly treatments you can use. No harmful chemicals left behind, no worries about contaminating your soil or your food. It is about as clean as a garden treatment gets. So the next time you walk past that little brown bottle at the store, go ahead and grab an extra one for the garden. Your tomato plants will thank you, and so will your harvest. This channel is all about sharing useful, common sense tips that help you stop wasting things and stretch your money further. We post many more ideas like this, so if you find these videos helpful, subscribe and stay up to date. Your wallet will thank you.